Hey, it's Jack, and this video is the #1 mindset shift that you can make that will really improve your relationships. Hey, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and be part of this journey with us. You can just click the subscribe button. You can also click the bell notification because that will let you know when new videos come out. It'd be great to have you with us on this journey. So let's get into this #1 mindset shift that you can make. I want to imagine something first, just to set the scene. I want to imagine that relationships haven't been the easiest area of your life. And then if that's true for you, I feel for you. I know what that's like. Relationship has been a difficult territory in my own life. So I get it. A lot of us are in this, we're in it together. And you might have had the experience of kind of wanting a silver bullet, right? Sort of wanting something to click into place that hasn't clicked into place, or someone to give you the one tip or the one strategy that changes everything. And that's not impossible, right? It could be that there's one thing that's like, is the silver bullet for you. And I also want to suggest that it might not be as likely as you think it is. And I'm not here to be down about it. I'm here to encourage you to be realistic about what it might take if this is your area of challenge in life, right? Sometimes we have a domain of life that just, it's our area of challenge, right? Whether you believe we came here to work it and we have some kind of soul contract, or it's just objectively looking at your life, it's like, yeah, this is the area that is hardest to get the things that you want. Part of what can really help is actually just fully accepting that and being with it. And rather than resisting it and wishing it were different, fully accepting that this is what your life is somewhat about, and getting curious about it rather than making yourself wrong or beating yourself up or letting your inner critic run roughshod over you. It's actually being in acceptance, like, yeah, I might have some things to learn about relationship. Wouldn't it be cool if I gave myself permission to learn those things? Wouldn't it be cool if I were curious about what I might have to learn? And that's not going to say that it's all going to be easy, but it's actually setting a different foundation, a different foundational mindset that's more supportive of you. You might have heard me say this before if you've seen my other videos. If we were going to have you learn a foreign language that you didn't know, it's so much harder to learn a foreign language if you're running a program that says, I should already know this stuff. Right? I should already be able to speak Spanish or Mandarin or whatever the language is. And it's just not how it works, right? And when you go to learn something new, particularly like a foreign language, and I know this because I'm trying to learn some Spanish at the moment, it's just kind of difficult and embarrassing and lots of stuff that you just can't do. And you might say, but hey, this is different because some people, they seem to find relationship easy. You know, they met their life partner. It wasn't hard. They met them in a bar and here they are 15 years later and they have a happy marriage. That's cool. It might be that relationship isn't the main learning surface that life is choosing for them or they have chosen for themselves in this lifetime. Right? So you're not really comparing like for like, and you might be missing the gifts, the opportunities that if relationship is hard for you, you may have to learn some things about self-love. And that might be difficult, but there's something really, really cool about wanting to climb that mountain, right? You will value it more than someone who just inherently loves themselves. They probably don't even know what self-love means. But for you and I, if we have to work at that, and it's an achievement, even if we only get 1/3 of the way up the mountain in this life, fantastic, right? It's kind of reorienting that these perennial struggles, that we don't necessarily have to hold them as only struggles and problems. They are the oyster of life, you know, developing our pearl, right? It's life working you. And sure, sometimes it's nice to not work and to have our feet up on the couch, but most of the time in life, we actually want to work, right? You want to go out, you want to contribute, you want to participate, and you are now being encouraged to participate in your own relationship development. Now, to really kind of take this to its next level, and what I really wanted to emphasize in this video, I wanted to talk to you about the value of the long game. Part of what can be difficult in the personal growth space is there is, particularly at a certain level of personal development, there's a lot of what we could call breakthrough mindset culture. And if you have a breakthrough, right, boom, something in the moment that shifts your entire reality, that's amazing. But it's also easier for certain personality types that are kind of wired that way. And it's also not so applicable, I think, at further and kind of deeper stages of development, where it tends to take longer to really round out your development, to really learn a particular lesson. It's not just like we're rewiring a belief from a disempowering one to a more empowering one. We're actually doing deeper development work. And that doesn't tend to just happen in the moment. That tends to take months and years and sometimes decades for most of us, from what I've seen. And rather than that being, oh, a problem, like I wish I could just solve it like this, it's like, oh, yeah, some things take time to cultivate. You don't grow a tree like that, right? Trees take tens of years to grow to be a mighty oak. It's the same thing with your soul. It's a long-term game. So I want to invite you to give yourself permission that some of the things that you're here to learn about relationships or about acceptance or self-love or attachment, these things may be long-term projects for you. And again, you don't make that easier unless you're actually fully accepting it. If you thought you could build a house tomorrow and it would happen tomorrow, you're not going to be satisfied building a house, because building a house takes a while. Creating an oak tree takes a while. Cultivating your soul and cultivating your essence takes a while. So this is really an invitation for you to notice if you have impatience towards yourself, and a lot of us do in our own learning. Notice if your inner critic is giving you messages like, don't you know this already? Aren't you just repeating the same mistake? And to start to cultivate more patience in your own learning cycles, that things will take as long as they need, and you're in for the long haul. Right? It's kind of like when you're, the tortoise and the hare metaphor, right? You need to be a tortoise in this. You're in for the long haul, right? If this is soul level development, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen next week. It's a long-term game, right? So I might be starting to sound a bit like a broken record here, but I'm really just trying to emphasize to you that if you haven't given yourself this permission, if you haven't cultivated this kind of awareness and patience, you're probably cheating yourself from the relationship learning that you can actually do. Here's the other thing that's really cool when you kind of relax into this perspective, is you start to get a little bit more sober that, let's say relationships have been really challenging, right? Let me think of some common examples. Let's say that you often feel unloved and unwanted, right? And feeling unloved and unwanted has you want to get close to people. And sometimes you get closer to people than perhaps they want. And then maybe they create some distance and you experience that as rejection. Right? So now we're not only dealing with I'm unloved and unwanted, I'm actually dealing with some rejection that you may be seeing quite accurately or not, but there's like another thing that's layered over it. So now you've got rejection that's preoccupying your attention. So now when you go to make contact with someone, you're so conscious of not being rejected that now you're not being yourself. Right? So now we've got inauthenticity. So we've got unwantedness, now we've overlaid rejection, now we're overlaying inauthenticity. Right? Now, in that inauthenticity, let's say you start to relate to someone that has an avoidant attachment pattern. And that avoidant attachment pattern is kicking up your own anxious attachment pattern. So now we've got anxious attachment that's in there. And I'm painting this picture because you can start to see there's a lot that goes on in this space. Right? There's a lot that goes on between being unwanted, feeling rejected, anxious attachment getting kicked up, inauthenticities that start to creep in. So I'm saying that because you might have tried things in the past that haven't worked for you. And part of what might have worked for you is that it's in a way you haven't been able to see the full landscape, like the complex landscape. I'm getting a kind of image here. I've had a lot of issues physiologically. I used to play a lot of soccer, played varsity level soccer. I got injured and I never really healed it. And I've had a lot of compensation in my body, a lot of scar tissue on scar tissue, kind of pelvic twists, glutes that aren't strong enough, hamstrings that lack strength and toning. And together, it's quite a hodgepodge of things that it's taken a while for me to untangle, and I'm still very much in that journey. And my sense is that for a lot of us, that's kind of how relationship is. It's like that wound is activating that problem that got kicked up in that old relationship, and then in this new relationship, I'm doing a thing, but that's not really me. And there's a lot of things that are going on, and I don't think there's a silver bullet to that. Sometimes there needs to be a little bit of the observer and the scientist to kind of notice, like, okay, so if we want to improve this one thing, we've got to kind of carve off a little chunk of reality that is an appropriate chunk of reality for you to work on. And by the way, while we're working on that, there might be some things over here that continue to cause you pain. But if you're trying to do all these things at once, unless this is kind of like a full-time gig for you and you've got all the time and energy and money and resources to do that, it's probably not realistic that that's the case. So we might just want to start to carve off a little chunk of reality. For some people, just learning about boundaries, that could be its own thing for 6, 9, 12 months or maybe longer. Right? That you really start to notice, like, oh yeah, when I go to hold a boundary, I have a story that no one respects my boundary. right? And maybe that's been confirmed for you in the past. Or maybe the way that you're holding boundaries isn't now kind of light and skillful. It's kind of heavy or demanding, or you're anticipating a response from someone, and that's the response that the way that you're holding that is actually inviting into the systems dynamic. So I'm trying to lay this out there just for you to get a sense of, wow, okay, there could be a number of things for me here to learn. I want to be in for the long game. I may need to chunk reality down to something that I can work on. Even while I'm working on that thing, some other outcomes or some other pieces may be difficult. They may be niggly. They may be hurtful to me. It may be even that working on one thing slightly creates a problem in another thing, right? And you have to learn how to integrate those things in a higher order integration. That's harder, right? If my stipulation to you was go make money, and I don't care how you do it, just go make money. That would be a lot easier than if I said to you, say, hey, go make money. I want you to do it in a highly ethical way. I want you to do it in a heart-connected way. I want you to do it in a fully embodied way. And I wanted you to do it in a way that's connected to your mission and in a way that fully serves the community, and that you're not overworking because you also need to pay attention to your self-care. You got that? Good. Go ahead and do that. That's a lot harder, right? Now, in relationship, we're often doing that same thing. It's not just go and find any guy and get married to him. If that were the project, you would probably do that easily. But we're saying, hey, find a guy that you have a soul connection with. Find a guy that you can find secure attachment with. Find a guy that you can be yourself with and bring your authenticity into the relationship. Find a guy who's in a stage of his masculine development where he's available for actual partnership, not just being a lover or not just being a companion. Find a guy who's also on the path and wants a growth-oriented relationship. Now, I'm not saying any of this to dissuade you from doing this. I'm saying it to console you and support you and be compassionate to what you might actually be undertaking, that you are already working hard. And I kind of want to give you the thumbs up for that and say, bravo, keep it up, because all of this is worthwhile. None of it's in vain. And it might be that you're in a longer game than perhaps you realized, and that you just giving yourself that kind of view and permission, it actually allows you, it's the part that will allow you to learn some things that would be more difficult without it, right? You've already worked hard, so we know that you show up for this territory. If you're investing your time in watching videos like this, you show up for this territory, right? That's all in your favor. And if you could relish that, wow, there's some things I've got to learn, and damn, they're fucking hard sometimes, but I'm up for it. That's what's cool about this, right? Learning things that are easy, yeah, okay, learning things that are easy. If you're great at math, math's easy. That's not your edge of development. If you find staying when someone is having an angry experience, or someone is saying something you don't like, or you find you get bored in a relationship and you keep wanting to turn them over, that's the stuff that's cool for you to learn, because it's not easy for you to learn. That's what you've come here to do. So this video is to help you with the mindset, the long-term game mindset that will support you to really do the things that your soul in this lifetime wants you to do. And I hope this video has been part of supporting you in that journey. So thanks for being here. Thumbs up. If you haven't taken my free webinar, just click the link. It's here below the video. You can find a time that works in your time zone. It's been getting fantastic reviews. It's some of my best content. It's with my teaching buddy, Clayton Olson, who's a relationship coach here in Colorado as well. And there's a real synergy in our work, so I'd love you to experience that. So click the link, find a time that works for you. And again, I'm Jack. Thanks for being here.